let me start recording this meeting. And what do you got to work on tonight?
I have a worksheet on, I need to evaluate for W.
Okay.
Or evaluate for W.
Hold on.
Equals 5.
So tell me how to send a photo of that.
Okay. Here, Mom, can you try to send a photo of it?
Yeah, we tried to send a photo. If you can remind us again how to take a picture and send this to you.
Just send it to my email address.
Is it the Algebra 2 Calculus?
No, it's David Cowan.
Okay, hold on.
1949 at gmail.com.
David Cowan.
I'm writing it on the screen for you right there.
Okay, awesome. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Winter step down.
So, Winter, do you have your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so take a picture of it.
I already got it. Now I just send it.
Okay, so send it there then.
Okay, hold up.
This goes upstairs for the kids.
Okay. Camera. Okay. Mom, my camera's bad. Can somebody else do it?
So much text crap.
Yeah, once you get the picture, after you've taken it, once you get it highlighted, you want to share it. At least, do you have an iPhone or an Android system?
Android.
Okay, that's what I have, so I'm familiar with that.
1 minute. Okay, yes, it says evaluate for W equals 5, X equals 2, and Y equals 8.
Okay, and what's the function?
Okay, so the first one is 9x, so you would do 9 times 2, correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's 18. Okay, so, alright, that's 18.
I can't send a photo unless it's with the text. My phone won't allow me to send a photo over any emails the way my phone is set up.
Is it a smartphone?
Yeah, but it won't let me. I don't have any email account set up through my phone.
Can you? Do you have the Gmail app on there?
Yeah, it won't let me do it through that. It says it cannot send this size photo.
So is what it's asking you to do is whenever you see a W in the equation, that's always 5. Whenever you see a X in the equation, that's always 2. And whenever you see a Y in the equation, it's always 8.
Right.
So,
let me speak to your dad for a moment again. Do you have any way of getting that picture into your computer and sending me an email of it?
Gmail.com.
At what?
Gmail. Here,
hold
let's
on.
talk to you, Dad.
Hold on. She erased. Is it David Cowan 1?
Here, it's right here. It's David Cowan, 1949.
at gmail.com.
Hold on.
Okay. That'd be 5 times 2.
At Gmail. .com.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 is in.
Alright, let's try. 2. Sending message, it says.
Eight, 2, 4 times 2, 4 times 8.
Alright, so I sent it, Winter.
8.
You did send it? Okay, I just got it. Hold on.
Oh, you did?
I just got it. Let me pull it up.
There it is.
Okay.
Can you see that good?
Yeah, that's really good. That's a good camera you got there.
I use the flash. That's why you can see
That
it.
helps. Definitely helps. Okay.
Call me. I'll be upstairs if you need anything.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to evaluate each of these expressions using these different values. So
Yes.
just read them off. Have you done some of them already, or
Yeah, I've done the first 3.
which are E, N, and A?
I did actually E, A, and H.
So you went down this way. Okay. Let's keep going in that same way. What is XY divided by 4?
So it would be 2 times 8 divided by 4.
Okay.
So do you first multiply?
Well, let's figure out the best way to do that. If we have 2 times 8 divided by 4, I can do it 2 ways. I can just multiply it out, so I get 16 divided by 4, and then that simplifies to the number 4.
Yeah.
But I actually think a person should always simplify this first before multiplying it out, just because you keep your numbers smaller. In other words, I can do 8 over 4 is the same as 2 over 1. In other words, if I divide the bottom by 4, I get 1. And if I divide the top by 4, I get 2.
Yeah.
So then my answer becomes 2 times 2 over 1 is equal to 4. I never had to deal with a number as big as 16,
Yeah.
the way I did it. So it's always a good idea to reduce these things down. At least I think so. I think it ensures that the math is going to be correct.
Yeah.
Makes it more likely. Okay, so the next one is what's W plus X plus Y?
It'd be 5 plus 2 plus 8.
Okay, give me an answer as a number.
Alright, so 15.
Okay, and how about W times W?
That'd be 25.
Okay, how about the next one?
You would do the distributive property. Oh, no.
It's an easier way to do it, actually. You could distribute it, so it would be 4x plus 4y. That is the distributive property. But you don't need to. You can add the x and the y together first. What do you get?
Then you get 10.
Times 4.
Yeah, it'd be 40.
Okay. How about this one?
Hold up a minute. Okay, that'd be, okay. And then it'd be 7.5 minus 5. It'd be 7.0, I think. I don't know, 7.
Okay, 7.5 minus 5. Remember, I'm going to subtract 5.0 from it.
Oh, okay.
So what's that equal to?
4.0. Or 4.5.
Well, you got the 0.5. What's 7 minus 5?
Oh, yeah, it'd be 4.5.
What's 7 minus 5?
Oh, 2.
So it's 2.5.
Alright.
In other words, 7.5 minus 5.5.
Yeah.
Think about if I added 5 plus 2.5, I got to get 7.5.
Yeah.
And that's the way to check it. After you've done your subtraction, make sure you check it. And I didn't do the following. I didn't put the 5 here because I want to line my decimal points up. Whenever I'm subtracting or adding, I know that the 5 is a whole number.
Yeah.
I can add the 0 if I want. I don't even need to. If you think about 7.5 minus 5, 2.5.
Yeah.
All right. Erase this. And how about 1/5 Q?
Okay. That'd be 1/5 times 10.
Okay.
So, you have 1/5 and then 10. So then you multiply 10 by 1 and 5 by 1?
Yeah. Yeah, basically. In other words, you always know there's a hidden 1 under there, even though it's not written.
Yeah.
So this becomes what?
It becomes 10 over 5.
Which becomes what?
5, I think. No, 1/2.
No?
Half.
Remember that when we have 10 over 5, we're dividing 5 into 10. How many times does 5 go into 10?
Twice.
We're not, that's the answer, 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
2 times P plus Q.
Okay, that'd be 2 times 3 plus 10. So first you would do 10, and then you could do like 2 times 3 and then 2 times 10.
Actually, the better way to do it is to use PEMDAS. You know,
yeah.
You know what PEMDAS is?
Yeah.
Parentheses first.
Yeah, then exponents, but there's none in there.
Right.
So first it'd be 13. It'd be 13.
Is that equal to?
Or yeah, it'd be 13, and then you do 13 times 2, which is 26.
Okay. And 100 minus D.
That'd be 91.
Good. What's 3Q divided by 2P?
3. It'd be 3 times 10 divided by 2 times 3. So it'd be.
Now what can we do here to make this simpler?
Do we multiply, do 3 times 10 and 2 times 3?
That actually makes it harder. That would give us 30 over 6, which is equal to 5. But notice the big number, 30.
Yeah.
We don't need a number that big. We've got a 3 in the numerator and a 3 in the denominator. And since everything is being multiplied, I can divide the top by 3 and the bottom by 3.
Yeah.
Now what do I have?
Now you have 10 over 2, I think? Yeah.
And that's also equal to 5. But again, we did it without using big numbers.
Yeah.
In fact, I really could have, at this point, divided the top by 2, divided the bottom by 2, and that's what I have left only.
Yeah.
Okay, 3.8 times, what's Q minus D?
It'd be 3 times 8 times 1.
3.8?
3.8 times 1.
Okay, which is?
3.8.
Okay. About number T, P plus Q plus D, divided by 2.
22 divided by 2, which is 11.
Right. Now notice, here, I can't change this to 5 over 1. See why? Because it's being added to things.
Yeah.
if it was multiplied. If it was 10 times 3 times 9, I could do that. I could change the 10 to a 5 and make the denominator a 1. But when you're adding and subtracting, you can't do it. The only way to do this one is the way you did it, which is to add the top.
Yeah.
What does that equal to?
Wait, which problem are we on again?
22 over 2.
Oh, yeah.
In other words,
So,
that's not simplified. That needs to be simplified.
Yeah, then it'd be 11.
Okay. Always know that if you have an even number over another even number, it can always be simplified.
Yeah.
It's impossible for it not to be, because it means both top and bottom could be divided by 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's q times q times q minus 1?
999.
Good.
And then we have A. Okay, 0.5. 0.5.
Is this one?
Yeah.
Now, do you have a calculator in front of you? You don't, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Probably shouldn't. You probably should do these manually.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Just because I think we need to work on your skills by having you do these manually. It's too easy to rely on a calculator to do calculations. The problem is that when you rely on it very much at all, you stop being able to do them in your head. Everybody does. So it's kind of something you want to keep in practice, always being able to do these manually.
Yeah.
So what is 12 times 4?
Hold up. Wait, what?
A times C is 12 times 4.
Oh, okay, yeah. A times C, so 12 times 4, which is 48.
Okay. About 5A divided by 8. Go ahead and spell it out.
60 divided by 8.
Well, let's make it 5 times 12 divided by 8.
Okay.
Because I want to show you that other thing you can do again.
Okay.
Now, it might seem like the easiest way to do this is 60 divided by 8, but then you got to reduce that.
Yeah.
Which isn't that easy. So let's try reducing this before we multiply it out. How can I change 12 over 8? How can I reduce those numbers? I can't do anything with 5 and 8 because there's nothing that divides into 5 that also divides into 8.
Yeah.
But 12 and 8 are different. What number divides into both 12 and 8?
You could do 4.
Okay, so that changes the bottom into
4, and then it'd be 5 times 3, and then 2.
Okay. Now notice, now we get 15 halves, which is our final answer.
Yeah.
In other words, we don't have to worry about simplifying. Whereas the other way, we would have had 60 over 8. Now we got to deal with simplifying that, which is much harder than doing what we just did.
Yeah.
Still simplifies down to 15 halves. Don't get me wrong. They're all going to give the same answer. It's just that there are some techniques better than others for doing these. Let's see. In way of doing arithmetic is what I mean.
Yeah.
The whole key with arithmetic is, well, is accuracy. It's when we start making mistakes that we become dependent on a calculator, because if you make 1 out of 10 mistakes, you're going to say, well, I'm going to do this with a calculator so I don't make a mistake. The problem is that after a couple of years, you don't know how to do it by hand anymore.
Yeah.
So it really is a critical skill to be able to do these manually.
Yeah.
So what is 2b plus 5c?
34 in all.
Good. What is 72 divided by 2c?
So it'd be 72 divided by 2 times 4.
Okay.
And then you could find another common, like, to simplify, I think.
Well, simplifying sometimes wastes more time than it saves.
Yeah.
We could certainly simplify this by, I know how to cut 72 in half, right? Remember I taught you how to cut odd numbers in half? Think of 72 as 60 plus 12. You cut that in half, you get 30 plus 6. So 36 is 72 divided by 2.
Yeah.
So that would make it 36 divided by 4, which is what?
8, 9.
Okay. So 9 is our answer. But notice, going to all that trouble really wasn't that helpful here, because had I just multiplied it out, what's 72 divided by 8?
9.
So sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it isn't. You just kind of have to do enough of them and you'll get to where you know whether it's helpful or not.
Yeah.
To simplify. So what's 48 minus a plus c?
You could do 48 minus 12 plus 4, which would be 48 minus 16, and then you just do that.
Okay, what's that?
Hold up. 32.
Good. Did you do that on paper or in your head?
On paper.
Okay. When I do this problem, if I notice that this number is bigger than this number, then I do the problem left to right in my head.
Yeah.
I take 4 minus 1, that's 30. 8 minus 6 is 2.
Yeah.
If I have 45 minus 16, it's a little bit harder to do because 5 is less than 6, so I can't immediately get a 30 anything. But I know that since this number is less than this number, it's not going to be a 3, it's going to be a 2.
Yeah.
And in order to get a 2, I borrowed 1 to make that 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. So I, in my head, kind of do math in the opposite order of the way they teach you. In other words, they teach you to subtract 16 from 45 this way. And they say, okay, 5, you can't subtract 6 from 5, so you borrow a 1. Make that a 3. Now we have 15 minus 6 is 9. 3 minus 1 is 2. So that's the way you do it on paper.
Yeah.
And that's the way I would do it on paper, especially if you gave me a long number. If you gave me something like 7 minus 988, something like that, I wouldn't do this in my head. I would go straight to this digit right here, and I would do the subtraction manually. But if you're only dealing with two-digit numbers, you can save a lot of time by doing those in your head if you recognize that you can do this from left to right and not necessarily from right to left. You know what I mean when I say left to right, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In other words, I come up with the 30 first. The reason I do that is because the 30 is far more important digit than the next digit that's coming around. If I'm in a poker game and I got to subtract 48 minus 16, the number I concern myself with the most is the $30 part of it.
Yeah.
The $2 part's important, but not as important as the 3 is. So when I'm in real life and I don't have a calculator, I'm far more concerned with the accuracy of that number right there. And that's how I developed doing my math from left to right, is that I care about the big number. I care about the little number a little bit, but if I make a mistake on this number, it's not going to cost me a lot of money. If I make a mistake on this number and put a 2 down instead of a 3, that cost me 10 bucks. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I ended up going from left to right on my math.
Yeah.
So what is AB over C?
So first you do 12 times 7 divided by 4. First you do 12 times 7, which is
Now here's another case where that's going to make a big number, and we can do some things so that we don't have to deal with those big numbers.
Yeah.
So what should we do? Can we divide 4 into either of these terms in the top?
Yeah. 4 and 12.
Now what's the answer?
3 times 7 divided by 1. So
3 times 7.
yeah. Oh, 21.
Okay. Notice how much easier that is than had I multiplied 7 times 12 to get 84, and now I got 84 over 4, and I got to deal with that.
Yeah.
By just dividing the bottom by 4 and the top by 4, I got my answer without any number greater than 12 being used.
Yeah.
Well, the answer greater than 12, but so I think it would be worth your while to try to use these little shortcuts when you can. What is C times 9.2?
Hold up.
Can you multiply this from left to right instead of right to left?
You could.
You could, because 4 times 0.2 is less than 1, and I know that.
Yeah.
Which means I can multiply the 4 times the 9 to get 36. Now the 4 times the 0.2 is 0.8. Really easy to do.
Yeah.
Much easier than the normal method. However, if I make that a 3, now 4 times 0.3 is more than 1. I guess I could say 4 times 9 is 36, 4 times 0.3 is 1.2, so the answer would be 37.2.
Yeah.
So that'd be one way to do it, if I wanted to do it left to right. Again, notice the value of going left to right. You get the key number, 36. That's the important number. Somebody owes me this amount of money. I want to make sure I get this amount right here. I want to get the $1.20 also, but the main thing I want to make sure I get is my $36. So another reason that if I'm out and somewhere and somebody says they owe me 4 times 9.3, I'm going to do it my way, because even if I make a mistake, I'm not going to make a mistake with the most important number. and 2/3 times A. Does it matter if I put this 12 where I put it, or is it the same thing as putting it up here?
I think you do it left to right again.
You can do it, but it's the same thing. In other words, I want you to know that that is the same as this.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have to do it left to right, but let's simplify it.
Okay.
The first step to see if you can simplify is just to see if you can divide that into this number evenly.
Yes, you can.
Okay, what do you get?
You get 3 times 4 is 12.
Okay, so I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 3. That's going to make the bottom 1. It's going to make the top 4. Now I just have 2 times 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, a different set of variables, values. Fill it in for me.
6. 3 times 6 plus 15.
Okay. Next line.
Then you have to do 15 times 6.
No. You have to add 6 to 15. Remember, it's adding 6 and 15. What does 6 plus 15 equal?
21.
Now, do this one in your head. Left to right.
Okay.
Multiply 3 times 2 and then 3 times 1.
Oh, so it'd be 63.
What's E times N?
That'd be 1.3 times 15.
This is 1/3.
Yeah, 1/3 times 15.
Okay, notice that 1/3 is not the same as 1.3.
Yeah.
These are not equal. 1/3 is equal to 0.33333. In other words, I can write it like this, but I got to put a line over that because it repeats forever. So, should we use the fraction or should we use the decimal?
Fraction.
Always. Because this is exact. I shouldn't have said always. I should have said you use whichever is most exact. This is an approximation. That's been rounded off. But 1/3 is exact. So we're going to use 1/3. So it's 1/3 times 15.
Yeah.
What's that equal to?
Okay, so that you would do 3 times 5 is 15. Right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so then you would divide by 3, I think.
Yeah, don't make it overly complicated. In other words, multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. What's this?
15 and 3.
What is it equal to?
Oh.
15 divided by 3 is 5. You knew that because you knew that 3 times 5 was 15.
Yeah.
So if you know that 3 times 5 is 15, you need to know that 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. They're always like that. In other words, every time you do a division and you get an answer, your answer times the denominator has to equal that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what I'm discovering is that you would benefit, let's see if I have it on my computer here. Alright, you call out the answer and do these as fast as you can.
Okay.
First one?
Oh, you want me to start now?
Uh-huh.
Okay, 6.
Next one?
3. 7. 8. 9. 2. 5. 6. 9. 8. 4. 6.
Notice that the answer times the bottom number has to equal the top number.
3. 5. 5. 5. 6. 2.
The idea is to get really good at this, okay? And with a little bit of practice, just a little bit, I'm going to do 2 digits, do 1 digit. Oh, that's plus anyway. I don't want to do addition. How do I do multiplication at that level? Maybe I pick the level first and then do the multiplication. Yeah, here's what I want. Okay?
Okay. So 8 times 12?
Uh-huh. Do this however you have to. If you need to use paper, that's fine. What I want to do is sharpen up your arithmetic skills, because you're going to be amazed at how much it helps you.
Yeah.
It'll help you more than any other thing at this point in time.
Yeah.
If you could somehow spend 5 minutes a day doing these drills and making it like a game, it would make a gigantic difference for you.
Yeah.
So what is this?
That was 96. 35.
This is a little harder. I would have to use paper here. I guess, I don't know. I would multiply the 10s times 19, I'd get 190. But then I got to multiply 7 times 19, I don't know what that is. So I'd have to do this on paper.
It'd be
133 plus 190 should be 323. All right, more of these.
okay. 48.
These are the ones you want to do in your head. The other one, nobody does that in their head. Everybody either does that on paper or calculator. But these single digits, these are important to really do correct and do fast.
56.
Now this one you might be able to do. What's 8 times 7?
56.
We're going to add it to what? 8 times 10. 80.
Yeah.
So what's 56 and 80 in your head?
136.
Good.
21.
Let's just skip these. Oh, they don't even... Okay, yeah. Do this one. Now,
Okay.
this one, let's talk about this one, because a lot of people do this wrong when they do it on paper. If I'm multiplying 7 times 16, I don't want to do it like that. I want to do it like this. See why?
Yeah.
It only results in one line. You don't have to add anything afterwards. So when I'm doing 7 times 16, I'm going to switch it in my head to that. But really what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 7 times the 1, that's 70. 7 times 6 is 42, so I'm going to add 70 and 42. What's that?
112.
Good. Okay, let's figure out. I know it. You don't need to memorize this. Let's figure out what it is. What's 10 times 12?
120.
And we're going to add 12 to it. So what's 120 plus 12?
132.
And you notice I went from left to right on that.
Yeah.
Okay. These are the tough ones. The 9s and the 6s.
52.
54.
54.
Let me give you a hint about the 9s tables. It's a pretty cool trick. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. You notice anything about the answers?
They go by 9.
The digits all add to 9.
Yeah.
2 plus 7 is 9. 1 plus 8 is 9. So what I really can do is make my first digit 1 less than that, and then make my second digit whatever is needed to make it add to 9. So if I forget what 9 times 6 is, 9 times 6, the first digit has to be 1 less than 6. Well, what's the next digit got to be? If it's got to add to 9, it's got to be a 4.
Yeah.
So all numbers multiplied by 9 are going to add to 9 when you're done. 81 adds to 9.
Yeah.
9 times 10. 90 adds to 9.
Yeah.
So that's a helpful trick when you are trying to distinguish whether the answer was 54 or 52. That trick would have given it to you. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's this one. Do this from left to right also.
Okay.
Notice what they are putting down over here. They're kind of helping you do it from left to right.
Yeah. It would be 114.
Well, it's 90 plus 54, right?
Yeah.
That's 144.
Oh.
Let's look at that. Why is 90 plus 54? Well,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
if it was 100 plus 54, that'd be 154. This has got to be 10 less than 154, so I'm just going to take away 10 from 154 is the way I'm going to do it in my head.
Yeah. 144.
Right. What's this one?
190?
I actually had somebody have to pull out a calculator to do this problem.
Really?
Really. I've had 2 students that couldn't multiply a number by 10 without a calculator. That's how bad it is. Calculator dependence. Do this.
1,900.
What? Oh.
What?
Are you talking about 7 times 12?
Oh, that one. Okay. No.
No, I didn't
Okay.
think you were. I didn't know what you were looking at, but I knew it wasn't 7 times 12.
Yeah. 84.
Good. Notice that when we do it left to right, we get 70 plus 14.
Yeah. 132.
Look
No.
again.
121.
We're multiplying a number by 10.
Yeah.
What do you do when you multiply a number by 10?
You just...
Add a 0.
Yeah.
So it's 120.
Yeah.
Okay? You do this one?
Let me see.
This one's pretty easy to do from left to right. What's 10 times 15?
150.
What's 2 times 15?
30.
So 150 plus 30.
180.
All right. Let's end with the drills. Go back to doing some of your problems. But if you can find a website that has those drills, they're called digital flashcards. You can actually go to a bookstore and buy real flashcards. You probably at some point in your life have worked with flashcards. But it's fun if you do it in a flashcard method because it kind of turns it into a game. And speed becomes important, both of which are very important for you to be able to get it quickly and accurately.
Yeah.
All right. So what is N over M?
It'd be some divided by 15.
15 divided by what?
6. 15 divided by 6.
Can I reduce that?
No.
Well, I can't divide 6 into 15. It's true. But there is a number that will divide into both of these. And if that's true, I can reduce it. What number divides into 6 and also 15?
3.
Right. See, this is where being really, really good at your multiplication and division helps.
Yeah.
In other words, a calculator isn't going to help you come up with that. But if you're really, really good, you know that 3 goes into both of them. So if I divide that by 3 and that by 3, what have I got left?
Then you have 5 over 3. No, 5 over 2.
Okay. 4 times E plus E plus E.
So that'd be 4 times 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3.
What is
You have to find a common
common denominator?
common denominator.
They already have it.
3.
Uh-huh. So how do we add those?
That'd be 4 times 3.
Well, hold on. What's 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3? Forget the 4. Let's remember we're doing PEMDAS, so we have to add what's in the parentheses first.
Yeah. So it'd just be 1 plus 1 over 3.
Okay, what is that?
3 over 3.
Okay, what is that?
3.
3 over 3 is 3?
No, 3 over 3 is 1,
Okay, so now it's 4 times 1.
which is 4.
Exactly. Okay, let's look at the top one on the right.
Okay.
Now this one has 2 sets of parentheses. Always work from the inside out.
Yeah.
So tell me what the numbers are here.
It'd be 5 times 15 minus 6 plus 1.
And I could use parentheses. I wouldn't have to use brackets. I kind of like using brackets as the second set of parentheses just because it makes it harder to overlook.
Yeah.
So how do I do this?
First do 6 plus 1. Which is
Okay,
7.
that got rid of one set of parentheses because now what I've got is this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you do 15 minus 7, which is 8.
Okay.
5 times 8
Is
40.
E times M plus N.
That'd be 1/3 times 6 plus 15. So you first do 6 plus 15, which is 21, and then you find a common multiple between 3 and 21.
Well, what's
Right.
20? Before you go looking for shortcuts, see if you can do it straight out.
Okay.
In other words, I don't need a shortcut. What's 21 divided by 3?
7.
In other words, I didn't have to simplify. I wouldn't gain anything by turning this into a 7 over a 1. It doesn't speed anything up, doesn't call for smaller numbers or anything. I just want to divide 21 by 3. Now, if it's 15 divided by 6, different story. Now I want to simplify it first. But check to see if it might not be that you won't have to simplify it. In other words, when you have 78, or excuse me, when you have 72 divided by 8, I mean, I could spend a lot of time dividing both sides by 4 or dividing both sides by 2, but the reality is 72 divided by 8 is 9. So the quickest way to do that is just straight away.
Yeah.
So only use the shortcuts when you need them. And you'll get good at it. After a while, you'll get real good at knowing when you should simplify and when you shouldn't.
Yeah.
So what are these numbers?
It'd be 2 times 6 plus 15.
Hold on. It's 2 times M times the quantity.
Yeah. So 2 times n minus 3. 15 minus 3.
Okay.
So first you do 15 minus 3.
Or we can actually, okay, yes, that's true. If we're going to do PEMDAS, let's do that.
12.
Okay.
And then you multiply. No, yeah.
What's the best way to multiply 2 times 6 times 12? What's 2 times 6?
12.
I'll bet you know what 12 times 12 is.
Yeah, 144.
Okay, one more. M over N times N over M.
That'd be 6 over 15 times 15 over 6.
Now what?
Then you multiply.
We can reduce easily.
Yeah. Okay. By 3.
No, always cancel if you can. In other words, I have a 6 here and a 6 there. So those turn into 1s.
Yes.
I got a 15 there and I got a 15 there. Those turn into 1s.
Yeah.
Now, before we go, look at this problem carefully. I don't need to know what the numbers are.
Yeah.
You see why? No matter what M or N is, I can cancel that N and that N,
Yeah.
and I can cancel that M and that M, and get 1 without knowing. In other words, that's equal to 1 no matter what M and N is, because Mn over Mn, anything divided by itself is always equal to 1. So we could have answered this without plugging in the numbers. And that's always useful to know also. That's what they're trying to point out to you here, is that we don't need to plug in the numbers to solve that. That M cancels with that, and that N cancels with that. All right. That was a good session tonight, Winter.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's see, is this going to be a regular time? Do I have you down regularly? I do. Okay. So we're going to meet online at 5:30 every Thursday,
Yes.
unless I hear otherwise.
Yes.
Sounds very good. Okay. Let's see. One last thing. I need an email address to send you the link to see the recording of this.
Okay. Okay.
Where should I send it to?
You can send it to my email,
Okay.
or I don't really check it, so send it to my mom's.
Yeah. Well, I need to send it to a place where somebody checks it. Your mom's is fine.
Okay. So it's Leah Terrence. So
She gave it to me. I have it written down. TERRANCE 18.
1.
Just Leah Terrence 1?
At
Or-
msn.com.
It's Leah Terrence 01 or just 1?
Just 1.
Just 1 at MSN, okay.
Yeah.
It will take me till tomorrow morning to get this file processed, but then I will send it a link. In other words, I'll send an email to your mom, and it'll have a link on it that you can just click on, and you could replay that session. And at the end of every session, I will post this YouTube file to that link on my website, and so you can, anytime you want, review a previous session. Okay?
Okay.
Sounds good. Talk to you next week.
Okay, see ya.
Bye-bye. You can log out of this by just clicking on the X at the top of the GoToMeeting thing.
Yeah, okay.
All right.